I don't know if it was a side effect or if it was intentional or accidental. But what the Ukrainians did yesterday was really interesting in the effect that it had. It cost $250 million to the Russians, and they weren't like trying to do it. Let me show you what I'm talking about. First, before I get to that, yesterday, some of you really appreciated the advice at the end of this video. So I'm going to have another bit of good advice at the end of this video today. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go back to the 12 big stories and see it. It's worth seeing. Okay, so last night there was one of the largest Ukrainian drone attacks against Russia. It was taking place. There was just swarms of drones. Hundreds of UAVs are attacking in the direction of Moscow, Bryansk, Kursk, Voronezh, Saratov, Volgograd, Oblast. And again, this was according to Drone Bomber, July 6, 2025. It's July 7, 2025. We don't see a lot of the effect of these things, except, well, I mean, we saw comments like this from Spetsnaz. The Russian Federation is currently facing a large drone attack in addition to the continuous cyber attacks from the EU. Multiple flights have been canceled, jets grounded, internet out in some regions. Okay. So what did Ukraine actually hit? Well, they had some good hits. Like Ukraine hits a Russian ammunition supply plant near Moscow deep in a drone strike. Locals heard about 10 blasts. And there was the chemical plant linked to Grad, Uragan, and Tornado G rocket systems. I'll show you a little bit more about that. So Ukrainian drones hit the Krasnovatsky chemical plant in Moscow region, and an enterprise tied to Russia's defense sector. Damage assessment is still underway, but you can see this big mushroom cloud over where the plant was hit, right? Ukrainian forces has targeted this chemical plant located 550 kilometers from the front with FPV-1 drones. The facility is crucial for Russia's production of solid rocket fuel components, including oxidizers and propellants used in S-300, S-400, Iskander, Buk, and Tor systems. So this was a really good hit. I mean, you're targeting something that's very strategic, used for the war, as well as naval and air-launched missiles. It also handles explosive synthesis and munitions disposal. So, okay, good hit, strategic. But the effect, the accidental, the side effect was really interesting, right? So Ukrainian drone attacks for the second day in a row severely disrupted flights throughout Russia, with the largest airports serving Moscow and St. Petersburg among those forced to restrict activity throughout July 6. Oh, you're targeting civilians. No, you're not targeting civilians. There's a side effect that civilians are inconvenienced. Like that's very different than actually targeting, like trying to kill people in their sleep, in their own homes, in their apartments, right? Major disruption in Russia as airports in Moscow, St. Petersburg, and Nizhny Novgorod canceled 287 flights, delay over 100 more amid drone threats. St. Petersburg faces internet outages, payment failures. Now, why would there be internet outages? They do that intentionally so that drones can't think when they're, drones can't connect to the internet and then be able to use the local networks. Payment failures, delivery delays, paralyzed public transport, taxi prices have skyrocketed, if you can even get one. Okay, so that's where the people are in Moscow and in St. Petersburg and other places. Passengers were left stranded in packed terminals as officials admitted the system was facing periodic external interference. That means there's drone attacks. That's what periodic external interference actually means. So it's interesting to see how this happened. 7,000 Russians are currently stranded at Pulkovo Airport in St. Petersburg. Over 100 flights delayed, 30 more canceled. A snapshot of growing chaos in Russian airspace. And again, they're not in danger. They're just inconvenienced. But the inconvenience comes at a cost. And this is what's really interesting as a side effect of actually going after real military targets, those drones in the air flying, because it is a war. It's not just a special military operation. That's something over there that doesn't affect you here. According to Russian media, the aviation collapse at Russian airports on July 5th to 6th cost Russian companies around 20 billion rubles. That's 250 million in US dollars. That's so fascinating that it's having that side effect while they're actually doing what they should be targeting, which is military or logistics kind of infrastructure. Rostev Vista, the Federal Air Transport Agency, reported that since 5 July, airlines canceled 485 flights, experienced nearly 2,000 flight delays for both departures and arrivals, issued 43,000 forced ticket refunds, diverted 88 flights to alternative airfields, provided hotel accommodations for 94,000 people. So yeah, I mean that's what's happening, and it's just an interesting side effect that's causing, the effect to be felt, but it's not like targeting the civilian population, which is, well, that's what Russia does. Okay. During the night of July 6 through 7, Russia launched 101 Shahed type and other strike drones, along with 4 S-300, S-400 missiles from the Kursk region. Ukrainian air defense neutralized 75, 58 shot down, and 17 jammed. So 75 out of 101. There was still some damage that happened with those other 25 or so. Okay. So, and the missiles, the 4 missiles. But this number 105, okay, that's like the bottom line of where I feel comfortable that they're actually expending the Shaheds. Okay, Russian attacks on Kharkiv, Odessa, Zaporizhzhia today. In the morning, Russian drones attacked residential areas of Kharkiv. It's already known about 29 are injured, including 3 children. Apartments and high-rise buildings were on fire. This is what I'm saying. The contradiction, the comparison between the way Ukrainians go after military and supply chain kind of things, and then maybe they're inconveniencing the Russians as opposed to Russians just directly attacking civilians, it's stunning. Later, Kharkiv was attacked again. 6 strikes were recorded. Residential buildings, transport infrastructure were damaged. Cars on fire. In Odessa, 1 man was killed as a result of a fire on a security room near a new building. Russian drones damaged 10 garages, an administrative building, and a service station. 10 people were injured in Zaporizhzhia. Reportedly, a Russian drone struck the university. So, yeah, and private homes and educational facility, yeah. Okay, Russians have just targeted a residential neighborhood in Ukraine's city of Zaporizhzhia. 6 Shahed drones. Russian drone attacks. Now, this is the human safari. Russian drone attacks families working in the fields in Kherson region. The human safari goes on, right? They're just minding their business, trying to farm, and yeah, that's where the Russians are. Now, there's just been this weird, interesting rash of recruitment centers being targeted. And I mean, that is military, so I understand what's going on there, but it's a very strange, novel strategy that's just kind of recent. Venista's territorial recruitment center is halting operations as its main location due to the tense security situation. The structure is being relocated, likely in response to recent waves of drone attacks targeting such facilities in Poltava and Kremenchuk. So this is a new kind of thing for the Russians to be doing. Russia floods Ukraine with 1,270 drones and nearly 1,000 bombs in a week. We need air defense now, says Zelensky. Like, that's right. Okay, on the battlefield, 1,100 Russians off the battlefield day over day, 3 tanks, 7 armored fighting vehicles, 33 artillery systems, 118 vehicles, and fuel tanks. Across direction, Russian invaders conducted nearly 40 assaults. That's a little low for the 1,100 that we're seeing, but it's still not without, it's in a normal kind of range. Ukrainian MiG-29 carried out an airstrike using an AASM Hammer guided bomb on a concentration of Russian forces in the Kursk region. France announced the acceleration of the production of AASM Hammer high-precision aerial bombs, which have really proven to be fairly effective in Ukraine. The ISW continues to assess that Putin remains adverse to declaring another partial mobilization out of fear of domestic discontent and remains committed to promoting crypto mobilization efforts. So it's fascinating that you'd think an authoritarian can just say, I command you to go, but he doesn't want to provoke a revolt or an uprising. He's sensitive to that. So that's why there's no greater mobilization efforts right now. I talked about this last night. A 6th Russian Shadow fleet tanker suffers a mysterious explosion this year while berthed in the Baltic Sea port of Ust-Luga on Sunday, costing millions in lost revenue. Again, another side effect. and the transport minister loses his job. And with that, it was interesting what actually happened. So there is some kind of sabotage. It's clearly not just internal. Russians are considering sabotage as the potential cause of the explosion aboard a ammonia tanker Eco Wizard in Ust-Luga. Russians inspected the vessel with an underwater drone and discovered two breaches, each approximately 1 by 1.5 meters, near the engine room at depths of 6 to 7 meters. Okay, so could it have blown out? Well, no. Russians say the metal was bent inward, indicating the blast may have originated from outside the tanker. So someone got on the tanker or got next to the tanker, planted something, and then got away from it. And the Eco Wizard was not inspected upon docking. That's because there was bad weather, so they skipped the inspection. And yeah, the Russian governor of the Leningrad region says that there is no threat to human health or safety and that no environmental damage has been recorded. But again, Russian governors lie regularly about everything, about how many drones they shot down, more drones than were actually in the air, and that sort of thing. Okay, just some cool things. Russian robotic systems ground robotic systems are changing the battlefield, delivering ammo, evacuating the wounded, laying or clearing mines, all from a safe distance. And again, we're going to see more and more and more of this as the time goes on. The next war will look nothing like the wars that we were used to in the past because what's going on in Ukraine has changed everything. Europe just ran its first war game with drones and robots. Ukraine helped design it. At a test site near Rome, EU armies tested drone to robots resupply missions using frontline scenarios developed with Ukrainian experts. Again, it's just amazing. Okay, I promised you some advice. Here is the advice. I gave great advice yesterday. Well, part one was great advice, and here's some other good advice. Pro tip: if you stir coconut oil into your kale, it makes it easier to scrape it into the trash. All right. I'm full of this kind of good advice. I can do this all day. Thank you for your time, the likes, the shares, and the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.